Screenshot.
Yeah, boy.
Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today, we'll be looking at 10 plus things that are different about Definitive Edition from the original game. This new version of the game actually has tons of changes, and some of them are really good, while others are not quite as liked by the Outward community. Let's jump in and see if you noticed any of these changes yet. Blacksmiths actually craft armor pieces in one full 24-hour day now. This used to take 3 days, meaning you had to sleep a total of 9 days to get the full blue sand set at the beginning of the game. Since most people would just sleep to get their way better armor anyhow, this is a much needed change. Less in-game and out-of-game time wasted, and now crafting armor from blacksmiths is way less tedious than it used to be. In Old Outward, you were able to set up a hobo camp in town consisting of a tent, alchemy kit, cooking pot, and backpack full of extra gear. You can still do this, but only for 7 days. Yeah, hobo camping is not quite as powerful as it once was, and many people are unhappy about this. Try hobo camping and then staying in the region for only 7 days. After everything is done that you wanted to do, pack up and move your camp to a new town. Not exactly the same thing it was before, but definitely challenges players a bit since they can't infinitely store things in dropped backpacks anymore. So almost all the armor in the game got overhauled, and most sets actually got a buff rather than a nerf. Protection is the most noticeable change now since it helps against stability, and having enough of it really makes you resistant to damage and almost never lets you fall down. So heavy armor just became more usable. Runic armor got barrier added to it. The Tenebris set has corruption resistance now, and the Scholar Circlet got a -10 cooldown reduction, making it the single best piece of headgear for beginning and maybe even mid to late game now. Resistance did get reduced a bit on most sets to balance out the huge buff to protection, but that does not affect us for the most part. If you hadn't noticed the large areas of Outward covered in a thick green smoke, then you might not have played much yet. Corruption used to be limited to the Antique Plateau region, and it was pretty much a joke back then. Walking through Corruption was a minor inconvenience and easily dealt with. Now, however, Corruption is everywhere and builds up much faster. This is frustrating for new players, but actually a good thing. It makes Blood Sigil builds actually fun now and forces you to think carefully before entering certain areas of the game. If you're having trouble dealing with corruption, just buy the Sanctifier potions from alchemists in towns, but don't use them. Never take a small red potion unless it's a health potion. You can craft these with elemental particles to get 3 purity potions that get rid of 50% corruption instead of only 20%. The jelly-looking creatures that float drop these quite often, making it much easier to cure corruption than you might think. Most of the more significant caves in Outward now have mini-bosses that can be quite challenging to take down. They are all unique and differ depending on which cave you decide to enter. Some match up perfectly with the lore and actually improve the story behind Outward, while others are just there to be a challenge for you. These new enemies are absolutely amazing and make the game much more fun than before. Caves now feel dangerous as you know there's something waiting for you that can't be instantly killed. Plus, it brings life to the game since some of the caves were a bit boring before. Some of these mini-bosses do respawn, while others merely come back as a less powerful version of themselves. It would be nice to fight all these creatures over and over, but then again, they are pretty tough, so it kind of makes sense that they would die for good. This change is actually kind of funny. In Outward, if you enter the swamp from Enmerker Forest, you will be locked out of the mainland, so to speak. In order to get across, you have to enter a ziggurat and place this artifact onto a pedestal. This opens up a bridge and lets you across. Back in original Outward, this giant bridge would spawn out of thin air, letting you across. Obviously, bridges can't fly, and we don't ever see magic like this in the game. So in Definitive Edition, there is now a bridge there all the time, and getting the artifact only opens the gate that closes the bridge off. No more magical bridges, guys, and thankfully, this makes a whole lot more sense now. The silver exploit used in Vendeval Fortress was a staple of the game. Everyone knew about this, and everyone did it to get tons of silver early on. Unfortunately, it is no longer an option. The number of pickaxes has been removed, preventing you from dismantling them for extra iron. You also only get 2 silver from the prisoner now instead of 5. Pretty much unusable now as a silver making process. There also seems to be a change to where the prisoners won't even talk to you if you anger the guards and leaders of the castle. They simply cower in front of you, too afraid to speak. There is now a mini quest you can do by dying at the Cabal Wind Temple. You will be given a new defeat scenario where a ghost tries to protect you, and then you can find him on a dock later on in the game. This starts the quest, and by taking an urn to an altar somewhere, you can get a really cool looking shield that has some awesome stats. Not quite what some of us expected, but really cool new quest that once again gives us more to do and adds lore to the game as well. I just hope this is not all the new content that they added in quest form. Definitive Edition also added some new diseases and status effects that do something to your character. Hive Infestation gives you plus 100 health and stamina burn, negative 15% status resistance, and this will get worse if you don't poison yourself to fix the effect. Lay Wilt will give you plus 40% mana cost and 6 barrier. As it starts to go away, it gets plus 20% mana cost and plus 3 barrier. This one can actually be helpful to characters that don't use much mana, making it pretty unique. Mika Fever gives you negative 15 weather protection and an extra 100% thirst rate. The Hunch gives you negative 15% physical damage and negative 15% resistance. So yeah, not only does Outward try to kill you, but it makes you miserable once you wake up or revive. Cool new diseases and status effects that make the game more challenging. As I am an S-tier Outward player for sure, I've not seen very many of the new defeat scenarios, but there are quite a few new ones. You can be used in a Trog ritual, thrown off a cliff by a bandit, eaten by hive larvae, and even captured for slavery. There are almost 80 different defeat scenarios you can get in Outward Definitive Edition, and not all of them are as nice to you as they were in old Outward. Sometimes you'll be saved, but other times, you'll be woken up while being eaten alive. This just adds so much to the game in terms of unique experiences. Even dying becomes a new story you have to write for yourself. Previously, it was only possible to see learned recipes if you were at the correct station. Cooking pot for foods and alchemy kit for potions. Now, however, we have been given 2 additional tabs in our crafting section that let us see those recipes while out and about. I love this change, as I never remember recipes well, and I now know what to save for my next meal because I can check every 3 seconds when I forget. While trying to complete the Rust and Vengeance questline, you will come across this epic mana train that takes you to different areas underground. Luckily, we were now given the choice of where to go. You have all the available locations in one place and can choose to go anywhere you like. Before, you had to just interact with the train and it would take you to the next place. You couldn't skip stopping points and it was quite tedious. Now, however, you can go from the first docking station to the last with just the press of a button. Many people are excited about this change as it lets you navigate the underground very quickly. It is also worth mentioning that some of the 4 keys required for the completion of that quest have actually been moved. Not very far from their original locations though, so nothing that will really confuse you. 2 new pets have been added into the game, and you can access them via the Cosmetic tab. Pets don't really do anything but look cool. Who cares about that though? All I care about is getting my hands on that Blade puppy as he is adorable. Both of the new pets can be acquired by killing the liches in the swamp. Jade Lich will give you the puppy, and the Lightmender will give you a golden watcher that spies on you. Blade puppy all the way. Outward's combat has been accused of being clunky in the past. Definitive Edition has made combat actions such as dodging and swinging a weapon much better in my opinion. You will be unable to roll properly if your backpack is overweight, even if the bag does not impede your dodge roll. You can actually attack with no stamina, but it will be a very slow attack that will cause your character to have 0 stamina for a few seconds. Dodge windows seem a little bit better, and the combat is actually fun and challenging. It is hard to pinpoint exactly what was changed to make the combat more fluid, but it is definitely noticeable after fighting a few times. So there you have it, guys. 10 plus changes that were added into Outward with Definitive Edition. Is it enough? Should there have been more? This video isn't really meant to talk about that, but hopefully you know a lot more about the changes that were made to the game now. Look out for new enemies, try out armor with much better stats, and keep adventuring until you get those cool new pets. Comment down below which change you are most excited about, and also let me know of any other changes that were made. I know there are plenty, and it's hard to mention them all in one video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.